Councilmember Hagenow.
Present.
Councilmember Kerr. Here. Councilmember Martin.
Present.
Councilmember Parmet.
Present.
Councilmember Sullivan.
Here.
Mayor Riley.
Present.
There are 7 members present.
All right, thank you. And will you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And the next item is approval of the agenda. And can I?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion's carried. The next item is communications to council. Is there anyone who would like to speak to council today, either in person or remotely? I don't see anyone in the audience unless the Chief and Community Development Director would like to speak to us. Anyone online indicating?
No.
All right. In that case, I will close communications to council. And next item is the consent agenda. And before we go in, I'd like to turn it over to the town manager.
Your Honor, I'd like to recommend that you take the first reading of the speed limit ordinance off of consent agenda, put it in discussion, and I'll explain the reason in discussion. It's at the advice of our attorney to more specifically call out the individual roads in the town and list the speed limit using the categories that were presented in the.
We need a motion.
And the place on the, since we don't have a discussion portion, can we just place it under consideration of ordinances and then we'd handle whatever happens out of that from there?
I move that we move the first reading of ordinance 2026-0-02 to what you just said,
Yeah, to consideration of ordinances.
off of the consent agenda.
Consent. All right, any discussion? I'll call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Now we're still back to the consent agenda. Could I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended?
So moved.
Is there a second? Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The motion is carried. The next item on the agenda is consideration of ordinances. And the first one is ordinance 2026-0-01. An ordinance of the town council of the town of Keystone, Colorado, setting compensation for council and providing for an annual cost of living adjustment. And this is the first reading. So with that, Mr. Town Manager, could you please provide us a presentation?
Yes, we discussed this on a work session and the council came to the conclusion that although the compensation was laid out in the charter as $1,000 for mayor and $500 for council member per month, it was clearly intended by the voters of the charter that this can be adjusted given the changing situation over time. For example, the cost of living increase. This ordinance would incorporate a cost of living increase of, what exactly did I say that number was? It's it's the cost of living increase from February 2024 through December of 2025, setting a base pay of $1,044 a month for the mayor and $522 a month for council members, incorporating what we've seen up until this point. And the ordinance in the future will automatically have a cost of living adjustment. So if based on the CPI for the Denver, Boulder, Lakewood region, September CPI number. That's about as close as we can come to a good approximation of cost of living at this point. It would have an automatic cost of living adjustment beginning in January of every year based on the September CPI numbers. So next January, there would be a COL adjustment either up or down, depending on what happens with CPI. It does go down. It doesn't go down that often. I think the last time was during COVID. And that would be an automatic adjustment that the council wouldn't have to vote on every time. And basically what this ordinance does is it maintains that level that was approved originally when the charter was voted on by the citizens. The pay is only, the raise, everything only goes into effect for people who are newly elected or appointed to the seats. So even if this is approved, none of you automatically get the raise. Those of you who are up for election in April and get reelected, then will have their pay adjusted to 522, and then next January have a cost of living adjustment every year forthwith. Those of you not up for election will not see any adjustment in your pay until you next stand for election and are elected. So Mayor Dan, you're stuck with it for a while. And Aaron too, yep. I think this ordinance keeps, well, two things. We pay people to encourage those who work full-time, who have families, young children, anything like that. So we don't just become a council of geriatrics, which can often happen if there's.
Did you revise your?
Objection to that characterization.
We are not a council of geriatrics because of this. But if we make it more difficult for working families to run for council, we very much lose that. Our working families, working individuals, anyone who has a financial difficulty doing the extra work involved in being a council member. So I think this keeps the intention of the voters very much in the forefront, does not cause us to go into a situation where all of a sudden the pay doesn't pay for your daycare that you might need to attend here, or offset not having to take a second job because you need to be able to read your packets over the weekends or participate on committees or other functions like that. So are there any questions?
Councilmember Hagan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I really appreciate you being able to get the stipends for the other towns here. Was there any consideration, and I think that really we have to look at this as two different conversations. The COLA, I think, is I would hope that that's something that nobody would have a significant problem with, because I think that really ties it, as you mentioned, both up and down to how the market's doing. Now, we still are lagging, in my perspective, to be competitive in the field. Was there any thought to that? And if not, then okay, but I'm just more curious if there was any thought to that.
Not by me.
Okay.
But that's the reason this isn't even considered for consent agenda in the first place. I think there's all sorts of aspects that if the council wishes to discuss about this, they should discuss about it. Silverthorne had previously been planning on readdressing their costs. I don't know where that's at now with the new town manager coming in.
Readdress being at looking at raising to match
raising
other.
it, yes.
Okay.
Don't they also do a rec center pass
They do a rec center pass, yes, which is,
in addition to what this information is here?
But we have a cell phone allowance, which none of the others have.
And Breckenridge, I think, has a rec center pass to and access to all sorts of things.
Sure. Reason I bring that, and I don't necessarily want to propose adjusting it now, but I think we should really look at that. We're still the bottom of the leader, the bottom of the pack here. And I think that with Dillon and Frisco, like that's where we really benchmark ourselves. Like we're not a Breckenridge. Let's call that out. We're not a Breckenridge. But Dillon has less full-time residents than we do. And if you look at one of the further agenda items in our election, we are not competitive in getting working class people to want to join the council. And so I'll throw that out there, right? I think the COLA is in my perspective, a no-brainer, but I think we should really look at addressing to be competitive to get our working class people to be involved. So we're not a council of geriatrics, as somebody said.
What do you propose?
I would propose being in line with Frisco or Dillon. So I guess I'd propose 750,000 or no.
That's seven. We understand. You are going up for election, and this will apply to you.
$750 per month for the council, and the mayor, I think we would want to put in range with the Frisco or Dillon, whatever that halfway point is, or lower end of that. But I just think that where we're at right now is not competitive.
Councilmember Corbett.
I'm not up for election, and so I won't see any of this. And I think that Councilmember Hagenow is absolutely right. And so I fully support his preventing a council of geriatrics amendment. I think that 750 is totally appropriate for the time invested. It still probably underpays for the amount of time that we put into this. And I think 750 for council, and I like his proposal of the halfway between, and then cost of living on top of that.
I would say I support Frisco's pay schedule. I mean, I haven't heard of any information of Frisco has 750 for council, 1250 for mayor. I agree with the comments of the amount of time that's put in, not only at meetings, but outside of meetings. I like being competitive. I think it's always a hard discussion talking about salary when you're involved in benefiting from that somewhat. But I don't foresee this council doing any less work than our neighboring councils, or at least I'm not aware of anything that's been presented. And I guess I kind of support the fixed schedule, that it's there, people going into it know it's there. It can always be amended or changed at any time, like anything that we do. So my feeling is what Frisco is paying, and it puts us on par with Dillon's council, puts the mayor just a little bit under, but I would be open for discussion on the mayor not knowing all of the time that he's in and outside. So I would be open for whether it's at 1250 or 1300 or even the 1400 of Dillon. So
would you also support the automatic cost of living?
no, I would support just strictly the fixed fee and not have the COLA.
Not have the COLA at all?
Not have the COLA at all.
Yes, why?
I think, what is it, 5%? Was that the number that was being tossed around?
We're talking about you'd have a fixed fee starting in April for the newly electeds, and then the COLA would be kicked in after that. It's based on the Denver Lakewood CPI.
And I think the justification for that is, as we look at least from my perspective, the reason we're seeing all these towns bouncing around is because I don't want to say they set it up wrong, but they set it up differently. They set it up for a fixed fee, and then 10 years later, they're playing this catch-up game. And then 10 years later, they're playing this catch-up game. It's as one of our constituents says, I don't think he's online right now, but it's a step function. And I think that the COLA prevents that, right? And it prevents that in the future.
No, I could agree to that then, based on that information.
Yes.
So like I say, I think that keeps you competitive and not playing what is the neighboring town doing.
So what are other thoughts?
Have no, or just a question. So do we know that the cost of live or that the salary or stipend or whatever we call it is a limiting factor to a lot of people not participating in the system, right? I mean, I want a little more than anecdotal. Hey, I talked to my friends and they would kind of do this because there's a lot of folks that, you know, when I talk to about town council, there's other things besides money, right? It's the time commitment. It's also so I don't know if compensation is the limiting factor.
If I can weigh in on this, having been a dirt poor ski bum,
Yep.
money drives every decision you make when you are working retail or in one of these restaurants here.
I live with 4 people full-time. One of them is dating, so we're called 5. Of those 5 people, 4 are eligible to be here. They would all not be here because they have second jobs, and this would limit their ability to have a second job. And it needs to offset that.
This would,
$250 a month make a difference.
will it compensate? Would that be a second job or something?
Still wouldn't.
That's exactly what
I don't think we're ever gonna get to a point where it truly offsets the second job, but I'm gonna advocate to try to get as close to offsetting that as possible.
I think that Councilmember Hagenow and the manager are spot on here. I think that everything is a trade-off of value proposition here. And that is time for what you get out of it. And no one's thinking that they're coming to town council to earn a living or to get rich. However, is it a volunteer commitment? And if that's what you're looking for, you are going to attract, as you go along the scale from free to infinity, you're going to attract very different crowds. And the point is not to make it to such that someone's like, you know what, I should really work a couple extra shifts a month instead of giving all of my time away. Especially if they look around and see like, well, other people who do this job get paid. Is my commitment not equal to that? So they should feel valued and they should be able to have something for the time they give up that they could be earning a higher income at to help make this place more livable. I think that's perfectly reasonable. And I think the answer is yes. Like Councilmember Hagenow said, you're not going to reach the point where we're like competing with what you would make slinging drinks at the bar right now, but you can make it so it's not below minimum wage. County minimum wage, I should specify.
Any other thoughts?
I hesitate to say anything because I'm hoping to be reelected. But I do not think you need to be a working person to deserve the right to be compensated for the value of your time and your contribution. Doesn't take anything away from what you've said, but let's put the geriatric crap to bed right now. I am retired, but not fully retired. I have another part-time job. I could do other things. Everybody has an opportunity cost for being involved, not just involved, but committed to this town council. I think that's worth saying.
Anyone else have comments?
Very well said. I apologize.
One,
Good.
when the initial salaries were set back in the charter in 2023, April, May of 2023. The Charter Commission looked at the compensation the other towns were providing. And this compensation was in line with that. As Councilmember Hagenow pointed out, there's step function that typically happens with council pay in other towns. I don't know any town that has what we're proposing. I don't know if our attorney.
I'm not aware of that.
So we would be establishing something totally new Do you know of one?
There are, if you go and look at the list from the previous packet, there were a lot of numbers, like our 1,044. There are a lot of towns that
Have automatic escalation?
have automatics as well.
Oh, that's why their numbers are
All
off.
right.
Yeah.
I don't know though. Like for one example, Basalt was one that you mentioned. They set it based on the budget, which is odd, and I'm not sure that that's lawful.
I just assume that you
No.
don't get the.
I looked. So, I have
Not
not,
do that.
I haven't seen it. And just the fact that they're odd numbers might not be the justification. But I do think it is consistent with the charter because you're putting in that ordinance now and it won't be effective until the next term. So you're not implementing it, you know, it's not effective for people who are in the term now.
No.
When you say it's consistent with the charter, do you mean the cost of living increase, the automatic, or do you mean an increase in the base pay or both?
Well, I did have to look at the language of the charter related to this cost of living increase. Because your pay will go up every year by the cost of living increase. So in the charter, it says you cannot increase your pay. You cannot vote to increase your pay. But that's not what you're doing. So I did review the charter language based on the ordinance, and I feel comfortable that it doesn't run afoul of that charter language.
If I may, Eagle just
Do they?
passed
Did
the
they? Okay.
COL increase, so.
Okay.
But you are talking cost of living only. That's because that's what we're voting on tonight.
It is both, but yes, the cost of living thing is the piece that raised a question for me.
Okay.
Yeah, now, as I started to say, while I'm not sure that this is going to have any significant impact on working folks in the community running for council, I fully support this. Two things. At a minimum, it brings us back to parity, and I think that's important. But the second piece, which I thought was when Councilmember Hagenow, and yes, I am kissing up to you, when Councilmember Hagenow did suggest this, last summer, I think, for the first time it came up, it's absolutely brilliant because what it does, it takes the pressure off of future councils to have to go through, and it gets us out of a step function. So we continually move up, and that's something major happens in other towns. So I support it. I would also support of increasing the base amount that's listed on page 2 in paragraph B to the numbers that council member here recommended, Councilmember Martin. And if we would like to consider that, I think a simple amendment to the proposed ordinance in paragraph sub B under section 1 of to the base compensation, to increase the base compensation for the mayor to what was it, 12 or 13, whatever that number was.
1325 would be the halfway point.
1325 and 750 for the council. And I think that would probably be the only change that would, and the associated impact numbers down below. I think that would probably be the only change that would have to be made. Councilmember Parmet?
I'd like to make a motion if you'll entertain it.
All right.
I propose that we modified, as we just discussed on page 2, section B, the base numbers in Section 1, subsection B, part 1, the mayor's base level would be $1,325 per month. And 2, council member base level would be $750 per month.
Move to approve the ordinance with those changes.
Move to approve the ordinance with those changes.
Is that
Thank you, Madam
legally
Chair.
acceptable way to change this?
Yes.
So we have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Now we can go back to discussion. Or debate. Would anyone like to have?
Just discussion, for me to go on the record, since I'm up for reelection, I'd never joined council based on the pay. It was the job, the responsibility. So if this is approved and I'm able to benefit, once again, I'm still not doing it for the money. Am I appreciative? By all means, for the time and stuff put in, but whatever our salary is, it was never a consideration as to, am I on the council or not? So.
Other councilmember permit?
I think it's just worth reiterating for anyone attending to the video record here that nobody sees this increase until after they win an election. And I am not up for election, and I fully believe this is the right thing to do. So I don't see this.
Councilmember Sullivan?
Yeah, also not up for election, but this will, if I run again, really supplement my old age social security.
Then your 3 other
I
jobs.
said to prevent it from becoming that council.
Well, it may pay for your property tax increase.
Probably not.
Any other discussion?
If I may weigh in my brief glimpse when I saw the Eagle County resolution, they will not adjust downwards for a negative CPI. I think the correct thing is adjust.
Both ways.
And there's one other minor administrative change. I don't think we need a motion for it. The town attorney is aware of it. On the next page, example application, it says the council member elected in April 24. None of us were elected in April 24. We're elected in February 24. And that's just an administrative change, but just letting you know that was in there as well.
Yeah.
Any other discussion, Councilmember Kerr?
Like Councilmember Barton, I'm not in it for the money, but I have spent years managing volunteers and managing paid people. And there is a difference. So I certainly think appropriate pay is appropriate. I would, but I'm also self-conscious because of the election. So I would ask, could somebody restate the purpose for the change in the base pay? That might help me.
So Mr. Mayor, I think you said it perfectly the first time, so I'm not going to try to play a game of telephone.
Well, I want somebody to say it
What I
out
was going to
loud.
say, which is different than what Councilwoman Kerr asked for, is I think that this is a very progressive approach to stay competitive, to try to get some of our working class folks. And I agree that we don't all have to be working class folks. But I just think it's a very progressive and positive thing for us. But I might defer to the mayor to sum up what he had said before.
I have no idea what it said.
I do, if I may. It was
Please.
when the Charter Council adopted these base numbers, they were based upon the surrounding communities in Summit County. Since that time, almost all the Summit County communities have adjusted their base pay up to the levels we see in the report now, compared to levels that were comparable to what the Keystone Council is making now. So this is just kind of in tune with the voters' original intention that our council be paid similarly to the other councils of the county.
And is it your understanding that the other municipalities made that increase because of
Well, because $1,000.
competition for people's time and effort?
Well, I don't think we have any idea why they made the change.
I accept that
It
rationale.
might have been at the end of the step function that we had talked about.
And if you look at it, it probably was, as we looked, I think some of the other councils were looking at it at the time, but it wasn't there. We also looked at others around the state and came up with that this was probably the appropriate pool to be considered in Summit County. And we threw Breckenridge out of the pool. Although given the amount of time the Breck Council puts in, given that every council member has a specific committee assignment of extra duties.
And they get the rec pass so they can
They
get
get a
right
rec
back in the pool.
Yeah.
But to be fair, I think we have all learned that we put a lot more time in than the council meetings.
And I would argue that if anyone today on the council is making minimum wage at what we're paying now, or even probably what we're paying in the future, and now this would be controversial, you're not doing your job. And I haven't seen anyone who's not doing their job. So this won't get us up to minimum wage. I don't think we could hope to.
Get us closer.
It gets us closer to recognition. Yeah. So is there any other discussion?
Mayor, can I just clarify something for the record related to the motion?
Yeah.
That it should be on first reading. Approved
This is-
ordinance on first reading.
It
But
is.
I don't think the motion stated that. Yeah,
It'll be amended then on first reading.
correct.
We amended. All right. Since there's no other discussion, I'm going to call the question. Now I'll ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Councilmember Allen.
Approve.
Councilmember Hagenow.
Approve.
Councilmember Kerr.
Approve.
Councilmember Martin.
Approve.
Councilmember Parmet.
Aye.
Councilmember Sullivan.
Approve.
Mayor Riley.
Approve.
There are 7 votes to approve.
Thank you. The next item is the ordinance that we move from the first reading of the ordinance. We remove 2026 O-02, amending the model traffic code to add additional speed limits. And with that, I'll turn it over to the town manager.
Okay, when we workshopped this several months ago, the council wanted clear categories of roads for the street. I've put forth 2 new categories in the ordinance that was sent to you. At the advice of our attorney, however, and I agree with her 100% on this, the ordinance would just be much cleaner and better understood and enforced if we actually called out each of the roads in Keystone. Using these categories as I put forth. So I'm not proposing, and the attorney was not proposing, that we set cul-de-sac A at 15, cul-de-sac B at 17.5, anything like that. Just that the ordinance lists each specific road for clarity.
Councilmember Hagan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a quick question. It says the attached map. I don't see a map in our packet. Was there meant to be one, or is it in an appendix or something? I didn't know if it was lived somewhere else.
That would just be my entire failure in including that.
Okay. Is there a way that you'd be able to send that to our emails or something just to peek at?
I will include it next week when
Okay.
we address this. Or not next week, at our next meeting,
Okay.
if we table this ordinance.
Oh, is that what you're recommending? We table it so we have the details?
I'd recommend we table it. Let me bring an amended ordinance back listing out the specific roads. Are these categories generally fine before I go and do that? Okay.
My other question for this is How does this impact future developments? Will we have to go back and reapprove this ordinance every time we're adding a road into there? Or will there be a clause that we would be able to add those in and name them, right? Because if we
Yeah.
go from my perspective, right, if we go from categories to naming out roads, is there a concern that we would lose
We will still have the categories
to fall into as a
to
parent?
fall back
Okay.
into.
Great.
And just another follow-up, I mean, definitely we will do that, but this is part of the model traffic code, and there will be amendments to the model traffic code. We will, there will be changes in state law that maybe you want to implement. There may be new editions of the model traffic code. So this is not the last time that you're going to be making changes. So we could always implement those new roads in with those additional changes.
Okay. Thank you.
So I think we,
All right, so I think the proposal that we'll eventually need a motion for is to table this until the next meeting. And I would also propose that as part of that motion, that we table it till the next meeting, and it will be in the regular agenda, not the consent agenda.
May I offer a
Yes.
motion, Mr. Mayor? I would move to table ordinance 2026-0 to February 10th and ask that it be included on the regular agenda item section.
Is there,
Second,
there's a second, is there any discussion? Hearing none, and I don't, hearing none, I will call the question. And I don't believe I need a roll call vote on this. So all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? The motion is carried. The next item is Resolution 2026-04, a resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Keystone, Colorado, approving a memorandum of understanding with Summit County concerning trails and open space property interests regarding the incorporation of the Town of Keystone. Mr. Town Manager.
And I will immediately pass this on to our still Community Development Director, Lindsay Hirsch.
I'm old. So what you're saying?
Geriatric.
Excuse me. Politically correct. With all that being said, I think it might be more appropriate, since this is a MOU, our town attorney did draft this agreement. If you have specific questions with regards to any of the mapping or any of the trails or open space, I can certainly field those questions. But again, this is really just a memorandum of understanding for maintenance of open space and trails that we're now in charge of because we are now a town and it's not in the county's jurisdiction anymore.
I think she just put it to you, Madam Attorney.
Yes. So, as you all know, I think you're aware that when the town incorporated under Colorado law in the incorporation section of the statutes, it provides that all streets, parks, and other places designated or described as for public use on the map or plat are then vested in the newly formed city or town. So that's what happened on February 8th, 2024. Essentially, we took all of the county roads, streets, parks, other places designated to the public. They became then town right-of-ways, town streets. And that's what this MOU is really doing, is formalizing what happened by operation of law. A memorandum, MOU is a memorandum of understanding. This is not a binding document. It's basically the county and the town coming together and saying, here's what our understanding is. Here's the framework that we're going to work together on these places, these roads and streets. There is the additional piece of it, which does talk about operation of maintenance and who's going to take care of maintenance of certain areas. Again, that doesn't change in terms of who owns it. The ownership is still the same. It just sets forth who is going to maintain it. It also doesn't change any liability for maintenance or anything like that. So that's an overview of the MOU.
Councilmember Kerr.
I'm interested in the parts of the map, the town, that the county wants to retain control and management of. What is the rationale? Because they think they can do a better job, or they have a legal obligation to continue that?
What would an example be?
The sanctuary is a great example, that
Yes.
area.
The conservation.
Area to the
easement.
west, sanctuary, yeah.
Yeah.
Or 65 or 50, which is.
I'm interested first in the conservation easement in the
Okay,
section.
sorry to
So
jump.
there are places in the town, this sanctuary, this conservation easement, where the county was given designated as the controller of this conservation easement. They had enforcement authority on the conservation easement. It's the county, it's not the public. So the county has the responsibility for enforcement. And that does not go automatically by operation of law to the town.
Okay.
Could be reassigned.
It could, and the county can transfer that to the town.
But at this point, they're maintaining responsibility for management, which begs the question, how does your statement about liability not changing? Does that mean if someone were to injure themselves on that property, it's a county issue?
No.
Or is it a town issue?
Because, well, the property is not owned by the county. Right?
So we
Somebody
are still
owns the property.
liable for what happens on a piece of ground we're not managing.
No, we are not, if we don't have any ownership of it, if it's not a town right of way,
Huh?
we have no liability.
That property is owned by the sanctuary HOA.
Oh,
And the reason I happen to have worked on that project, the reason that conservation easement went in place was just for one more blanket of security to protect those wetlands. That's really what that was for.
well, you had other questions.
Well, while we're talking about this, so if I'm understanding that correctly, the county still maintains management right and ability in that area, but do they need sanctuary approval for that? Like, what is our ability? When we talked about at the workshop, developing some of our wetlands and all this kind of stuff, that's a great example of like, could we put a little boardwalk in there? I presume not, right? But like, what does the future look like for that?
Well, I would have to look at the conservation easement. That's going to define what needs to be done, what the property owner has to do to maintain it to the level of the easement, what's required. So, and then if they're not, then the county steps in and says, you're not doing what you said you were going to do, and we're going to enforce this against you.
So basically, to our community development director's point, that was just meant to protect that area and not necessarily allow the public to have access to that.
Correct.
Okay, great. Sweet. That makes total sense. Thank you.
On that particular property, I believe that in the long run, and it has nothing to do with the MOU, by the way, what I'm about to say. In the long run, since it's an enforcement function on a property in the town owned by a private HOA, that the town probably ought to, in the future, work with the county to take over that conservation, management of that conservation easement. But it doesn't impact this MOU.
Okay.
There's a couple of other properties for different reasons, and I'll let the attorney talk to those.
Which ones are those that,
Those are the two on the east side of, eastern part of,
okay, so those are the ones that the county purchased with some open space money. And the county purchased them and acquired them fee title. So they have the ownership of those properties in Summit County's name. So those are properties that they're going to keep.
For the time being. We could certainly, at a later date, again, not part of this MOU, we could certainly initiate conversations with Charleston open space people who would bring a proposal for purchase of those properties or just whatever to give, but probably purchase to OSAC, and then ultimately it'd be the Board of County Commissioners who would allow or approve a transaction.
I might be misinterpreting what the attorney said, but I believe it was just mentioned that both 50 and 65, which are those two areas we're talking about, were purchased. In the chart below, 65 talks about a dedication from 2019. So that's my first question is, were they actually purchased or were they dedicated or was it one of each? And then what does fee simple mean as far as the property in interest type? Sorry for
So this goes back all the way to Property 101, law school class.
I skipped that class.
Yeah. So there are property rights that owners can have, or individuals can have, towns can have, counties can have of property. Fee simple ownership means that you own all the property. You own the land. You have the title to the property, as opposed to an easement. An easement, you only have the ability to do on the property what the easement says that you can do. So say if you have an easement for public access, it means only that the public can go over that easement area. Fee ownership means you control the property in total.
So and I'm not saying that the county is suggesting this, but could they in theory build a new condo complex on this area?
Well, the thing now is that the town has land development authority. So we have the authority to control development of that property.
Dictate what can go on.
So if we as the town bought this land, then we could,
Even before buying it, you have the control. You have the.
no, I'm saying we could choose to put a new complex there. Or we could choose to sell that to a developer and the developer could build something there.
Potentially.
I'm looking at extremes here, and I know the location of this is unique and probably wouldn't afford us to be able to do that, but I'm just trying to understand what could be done with this land.
Potentially, yes.
Okay.
But from a zoning perspective, it's slated for open space.
that would require
Rezoning.
rezoning, and since that land is also in the Keystone PUD, it would require a modification of the Keystone PUD, which would require Vail Resorts and the town both. I won't go that far. Let me retract that. Councilmember Kirk.
Thank you.
This question's for Lindsay because I can't really read this map well enough. There's an area of boardwalk between a Keystone Resort parking lot to an area behind some condos. That has been problematic. The HOA tells me that they've done the research to figure out who owns it without much luck, and they went ahead and made the necessary repairs anyways, thank goodness. I can't tell whether that area falls where that falls on this map.
So
Or if it
great
does.
question. It is a very convoluted
It is.
portion of the path system. I'm referring to it as the rickety bridge piece. And from a land ownership perspective, it crosses, well, part of that trail, if you will, is still in the county. Part of it's in Mountain House. Then it goes to Frostfire HOA and then Cinnamon Ridge
That sounds right.
HOA.
Yeah.
And so there's multiple ownership issues. There's no specific dedication of that bridge itself. I've done as much research as I could, and so is the Trails and Open Space, the county's Trails and Open Space people. There's no record of any permits ever for it that we could find, or any legal identification of the alignment itself either. So what I will say is that area will be our responsibility, but we don't own it.
So if someone were injured by weak boards, are we liable?
Well, so it's the owner, the property owner who has,
We can't be down.
Oh, we know who owns the precarious portions.
Yes.
That's laid out. That is laid out.
Certain pieces belong
Right,
to certain,
Certainly two different HOAs and definitely two different HOAs, maybe more.
okay. So that's not relevant. That discussion is not relevant to what we're looking at
No.
here then. Okay, that's
So-
really all I need
So
to
if
know
I get
now,
injured
but-
on the rickety bridge, I would have to go after that HOA's piece of land that I was on if I wanted liability considerations.
yes.
You'd throw everyone in the suit.
And is that something we might want to look at in the future?
That's the HOA.
I think that's trails and open space. You know, do we want to continue? Do we want to take over,
Okay,
make that a key part of our community trail?
It's a well-used
it
connection,
is.
but it could be improved maybe in the future.
Okay. All right, we'll table that. I'll table that.
Councilmember Martin.
Quick map question on page 40 of the packet. As HOA president for Elk Crossing, 2 easements have been identified, number 43 and 49. 49, I'm pretty sure, is the paved asphalt walkway that goes from Elk Crossing down to the community rec path that Vail Property Management probably put in when they developed us. 43, I'm not aware of any type of developed walkway paths, so I'm looking to see what should we do to get more information about this, because I'm not sure the HOA is aware of it, and I'm not sure the homeowners are aware of a trail or access easement in that location.
43?
Yeah, 43.
Assuming someone-
So since it popped up and it was identified in the map, should I just be reaching out to you or
Yeah.
email follow-up? I'd like to clarify that for
Yeah,
Paul.
I will pull that, that declaration. I have a reception number. I'd be glad to do that for you.
Okay, just so we can
It exists,
clarify,
obviously.
since, yeah, I don't want anyone to be surprised about.
No,
Sir.
no, that was pulled from a separate document or it was on the plat. I think that one, my recollection is it was a separate, they utilized a separate instrument on that one.
Follow up with you. Thank you.
All right, here.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Am I correct that an easement can exist for a path?
Oh, yeah.
It was never built.
Right.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Right. No, I just want to make sure both the HOA and the homeowners realize that there's an easement there that if it was ever developed, all of a sudden, surprise.
Yeah, that's.
So the town could come in.
There are utility easements all over the place that don't necessarily have the infrastructure in it. So that is a definite possibility.
Okay.
But I'll pull that document.
Okay, thank you. It's in an email.
Other questions?
Okay, let me ask one short summary of Lindsay.
Yeah. Just an example. I'm sorry.
What changes does this create?
Respond, really nothing from a legal
Okay,
perspective.
this clarifies things that have been existing
Who's doing
since we
what?
became.
And I'm surprised no one's asked me, so I'll answer it anyway. I was very curious So I asked the Trails and Open Space people at the county, I go, what ballpark for, what do you annually spend on maintenance of all these trails that we're gonna be taking over? And it was an incredibly nominal amount. It was like $17,000. It was nothing. It was striping, it was some crack repair, it was vegetation cutting back. It really wasn't anything. Now, with all that being said, there are parts of the community path that are in desperate need of repair. So there will be some expense associated with it and some improvements, but this just clarifies who's doing what.
Mike, did you have a follow?
I wanted to follow up on one piece of that. My eyes went to the part about crack sealant, I think, twice a year. It's like, okay, where does that happen? It says semi-annually. Is that happening? Or is this
No.
our proposal for the future?
It wouldn't be semi-annually.
It says that.
There's no.
I wondered if you meant
no
by.
requirement for the town obligation to follow that schedule that's listed.
What's the point of publishing it?
It's just what they say they're doing today.
But this is something we're both signing.
Yeah. But this is a commitment on
Understand my point?
to do anything.
That's correct, and they've already signed.
Okay, so my first question, has that been happening, do you think?
I honestly,
Hard to know.
I wouldn't know.
And the second question is,
15,000.
No way in the world, 2 times a year.
it hasn't been, right? So this sounds like it's a good idea and we'll decide within these
Yeah, we're not
parameters what to
obligated.
do.
Or not even parameters, we'll decide whatever we want to do.
Yeah, it's ours.
Then back to you, Madam Attorney, what's the point of including that in here?
I think it's just, our community development director, town staff, the county staff coming together, creating a kind of a work plan of work that is needed for these paths.
And if we have the money, we will try to do that?
Yeah.
I
Okay.
mean, it does,
Back off.
it is not binding. Okay.
It gives you an idea that there is work and cost involved in this.
Especially if you actually do it.
Yes.
Okay.
And
Thank you.
I would like to point out one other thing, or a couple of other things. By approving this MOU, there are areas in Keystone on a couple of trails that the county will continue to maintain, particularly over in the Elk Run area. And there are portions of the rec path, particularly that run through the golf course, that the town will be picking up maintenance responsibility from the county on, as well as a portion of the rec path that runs from the end of the seasons to the entrance of the Mountain House parking. All right, but that's, I just want to make everyone understood it wasn't just stuff in our towns. There have been some trades, but the reason for the trails is they have the whole rest of the trail, which is all part of in the county.
And we will absorb maintenance of all of
They
that
will.
within our town now.
No, they will on that trail, they will take up maintenance of the portion that's in the town as well when they're doing the rest of the trail. And in the rec path, we will pick up maintenance responsibility of the area of the golf course.
Okay.
So I have a clarifying question on that. The exhibit B2, which is the last table at the end, talks about the map ID number 2, which is that paved multi-use trail. And that's going from the Wild Irishman area over through Elk Circle. Is that the area you're talking about, Mr.
There's a
Mayor?
portion of it it's actually in county land.
Understood,
Yeah.
understood. But
That statement causes us to pick up maintenance responsibility of that portion that's over the golf course.
And that's what I wanted to double check, my understanding. Basically, we're taking management from Elk Circle where 13, the 13 map ID comes in and for the rest of the path heading east till we get to West Keystone Road is us.
But then on the other side.
On the other side, yes,
But
yes,
that's
yes.
cleaner.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm just trying to, basically, when we have folks complaining that it goes from town, county to town to county, it's now gonna feel like a contiguous trail through Keystone.
And that was the purpose.
Perfect. And then we can have the conversation next winter if we want to plow it, if we want to use it for others. Perfect. And we can actually make that decision across our, perfect. All right, thank you.
Any other questions for staff?
Thank you for taking this on, Lindsay.
May I have a motion? Or we can table it.
No, we're trying to find the ordinance number.
It's resolution 2026-04.
I got it here. Okay. I move that we approve resolution 2026-004, resolution of the town council of the town of Keystone, Colorado, approving a MOA or MOU with Summit County concerning trails and open space property interests regarding the incorporation of the town of Keystone.
Moving second, any discussion? Hearing none, I will call the question. All those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed? The motion is carried. Next item is the school district consolidation position letter. I don't think I have a copy of it.
We are meetings,
Right in front of you on your,
nor the one I emailed and is on our thing.
your in tag.
What?
I didn't know you were gonna get this done, so I
I
thought, and I thought,
wanted to give
hey,
people an option here.
yeah.
So I like this thought about the playground and everything, and I wrote that in originally, and then I thought, the school district will not care that it is the only playground in our region. That's not their responsibility. So I took that out, and maybe you guys want to put it back in my proposal. This is longer than it looks longer than it really is because I printed it in big typeface. And I tried to incorporate the arguments that Aaron had come up with back in December.
So
And I
are
have-
we referring to this as Carol's letter? I'm just trying to understand.
You only have a hard copy of what I had proposed. You probably already read John's proposal. We may want to merge them. I have no.
I just have,
Anything.
as I'm starting through it, I have a couple questions.
Yeah.
What data do we have that backs up the statement that Summit Cove Elementary is the least expensive school to open with the least financial benefit for the district to close?
That's a summary statement, and farther on, it points out that it is the youngest of the facilities, which suggests lower maintenance costs. But I admit the numbers about with respect to deferred maintenance costs for SCE versus the other two elementary schools I got from Aaron. I don't know what, I took it at face value. Do you know where you got that?
Yes, this was from the school district's planning group packet that they distributed in the meeting where they discussed these topics. All my numbers come directly from that school district document.
So are we let's just talk about current operations. Are we currently, for all because the statement says all is the least expensive of, I assume that it refers to all elementary schools in Summit County. So Summit Cove, the least expensive currently to operate in all of Summit County.
I don't believe actual operational numbers.
That's
No,
not what I
it was.
intended there, so.
It was more the cost of closure versus the cost to keep open in terms of deferred maintenance.
So I think the intent there was to retain, instead of to keep open, maybe to retain over the next 10 years.
Again, do you have a study that shows that? I'm just looking.
Yes.
There's a committee that's established to determine these facts and work it. And I would hate to have our letter
Agreed.
diminished
Agreed.
by something the committee says that's not true.
So this was meant to be a summary statement with the details, and I can easily reorganize it because there are, I think, three considerations. One is the age and the associated maintenance cost. Two is the value of the land, should they sell that? School's land versus other options. And the third is those numbers that you found about deferred maintenance. I can clarify that, definitely.
Yeah, there are certainly numbers that, and those match the ones from the document. 25 million was the deferred maintenance for Breck L. It was 3 million for Frisco L. And 0.4 million in deferred maintenance for Summit Cove. But I think it is worth noting that those are like top line. If you don't do this, this building will not remain functional levels of deferred maintenance, not some of the additional, it would be good if we did this stuff too. So there's cost even higher than that. But yeah, the critical function numbers are what they've been presenting there.
And I see, I misstated. I should have said, I should have read 25 million and 3 million for the two other elementary schools. I did not want to position us as proposing that another school close. I think our position is simply that we should not be the school that closes. I don't want to be the ones deciding that one other school is a better choice.
I think the solution points to itself.
Agreed. Yeah.
I question the argument about the middle school and high schools.
That's based on there's a demographic and enrollment study that's on the 10-year plan that clearly shows excess capacity. And they believe that right now the high school numbers are high and they think that those are going to drop.
But those have absolutely nothing, they're not being considered and can't be considered.
I think that Councilwoman Kerr might be saying, and again, back to her point about not making suggestions on what to do, just more calling out issues, right? Like Summit Cove Elementary is the cheapest one not to, there's all this consideration for the high school and middle school, like not necessarily making a suggestion, but calling out issues with other areas. Is that
Yes,
fair?
and I never meant this as more than a starting point for discussion. So,
Sure.
and I think that's a clarification. That's a skewing that will be to our benefit. So, are you recommending that we
I
not,
recommend we not talk about the high school or middle.
just the same way as I'm not recommending talk about Breck? Okay.
No, I think it is entirely appropriate to assume that an elementary school is going to be closed, and we don't have to call out a specific elementary school that we think should be closed. But I don't think we should, you're advocating for not close, this sounds like you're advocating for not closing any elementary schools whatsoever.
Okay, that's farther than I
intended.
intended, so that's good feedback.
I would think too, just as the mayor was kind of hitting at some of these numbers, I would think calling it out in a way that puts it back referencing where you got that information. So when you say something like, is the least expensive school to keep open based on
Yeah, I
this
agree.
report or based on this, and this, right? Because a lot of it just sounds like opinion. And I know there's been some facts and that kind of thing, but linking the facts to why we're saying these things, I think is going to be hugely important.
Good point. Will do.
Yeah, I think we can clearly say it's the least expensive to keep open and the least financially beneficial to the district to close.
And here's why.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll work.
I also.
On your own
say
stuff.
we believe.
No, we
That's a-
believe based on these studies that they have paid for.
You're really saying, we believe based on this data.
Right.
All right.
Correct, and it has to be referenced, so that way
It's
it's not just our, it's everybody else's.
And I think it's important to say that because I think the data they're using and considering is not sufficient.
I want to point out one thing that just slapped me across the face. Almost all these discussions started with the problem that enrollment is declining. But the actual study that was published in July for this says that elementary enrollment is going to be fairly stable over the next 7 years. That was kind of shocking. But I only spoke to Summit Code.
I'd also recommend,
Yeah.
I like this letter and I think we should use this, but I think you should incorporate some of the things, like my paragraph about the fact that the socialization, you're ignoring the students in this letter.
I would love to pull that
I
off.
100% support the
Clearly,
playground,
yes.
town park. Like that is something that we as a town council should be advocating for.
And the fact that they're proposing in that option to send our children to 3 different elementary schools from a socialization standpoint absolutely tears this community apart, because
I
those
use those
students
words.
are getting their group of friends, and their neighbor may be going to another school and they don't have the connection.
I agree with Councilmember Parmet. I would use very similar, if not those exact words.
I wrote that down. Good.
And I think the fact that the community wants that it is proven by the fact that when you see that the Summit Cove students live farther from the other elementary schools, there's also the impact of like the time they spend in busing, the cost involved in busing. But back to the social piece, I believe that the Cove has some of the smallest or the highest percentage of students of an elementary school who are from their local catchment. Because the parents are allowed to choose to send their students to other schools if they drive them, and some do tend to do that, but Summit Cove students come from its catchment more than any other district.
Because they choose to do that.
Is there any kind of environmental impact we can lean on here, right?
Yeah, farther busing.
No, but I mean, like, of the Summit Cove Elementary, 25% can bike to school or can walk to school.
I don't know if we have those numbers, but it is one of the 2 most walkable schools, I believe, with Dillon Valley. That's just off the top of my head. I think you could also point out that it's because it's the newest building or newest, it's more energy efficient and therefore greener.
And has the largest amount of property associated with it.
Oh, it does? I didn't see that anywhere. Where'd you get that?
Maybe Silverthorne is similar. That's just eye test. It's got a lot
So
of
what's the significance of that it gives them?
It's expandable, or if
Flexibility for the future?
flexibility. Yeah.
you want to go green, you could put solar on it.
They do have solar on it.
Yeah, so.
I mean more, but
Yeah, if they close it, what's the objective? What are they gonna do with it?
Probably.
So because it's big, then they might make more money.
it's in the least valuable place as opposed to like say
Just want to make
Breck.
sure we're not hurting ourselves.
Yeah,
Their other argument is to minimize overhead of administration. But the numbers we're talking about, those few administrators would end up moving with the students anyways. So that's kind of a moot point. I have a question that I couldn't uncover. Maybe y'all know this, and I don't know if it's relevant, but so if I'm coming in from Park County and I'm working locally and I have made arrangements for my kid to go to a Summit County school, am I paying for that?
do not know the
Well, I
answer.
don't.
It's the norm in other states.
But
Oh,
You can go anywhere in the state,
could you go anywhere in the state?
opt in.
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
is it anywhere in the school district you get automatic opt-in?
I'm almost certain you can go here without paying for it from Park County.
I'm not saying paying.
yeah, but
The school district, I'm saying, does the school district have a requirement to accept you?
since schools are supported in part by property taxes that are not being paid for by Park County people, and I'm not picking on that county, but as an example.
But if the student did, that lived in Park County, did go to a Summit school, Summit would get the state allocation of dollars per student for them, which is frankly the bulk of the dollars.
And there's
Killing
between,
my argument.
I know, but I'm just giving you what it
That's
is.
why I asked.
each of the schools has between 3 and 22 out of district
There you go.
students. So not very many, but, and the school with the most of all, number 1 and number 2 are Silverthorne and Upper Blue.
It's a moot point for our argument,
Makes
but
sense.
I was curious.
Coming from the south and coming from the north.
So I don't think we're going to decide to sign this tonight, but what I would like to do, if you have any other thoughts, would you email me? Email me, I will refine this, send it out again. And then I don't know how to do this.
Email me.
When do we need to get this to them?
Sooner rather than better than later. This is running through April
So the
with the
question
committee
is,
still.
can we wait till the
And then it
next
will go to the
meeting,
board.
council meeting?
Yeah, we could. And no, they don't have to pay to go out of district.
That was quick. Thanks. Okay, open to all changes. Thank you.
All right.
And just ask one question, not so much on this, but on the whole process. Do we have any way to get the board members to talk to us or tell us about? I know we don't, we've got a different chain of command, but you would think that,
Absolutely.
Yeah, we can ask,
Tony.
you can ask Tony, the school district superintendent, and then the board president. We can do that next week.
Certainly came and talked to us about their bond.
They will not be able to talk to about a decision made. They
But they can
will be
make,
able to talk about
they can
what.
talk about the process and the considerations that they're making. There was an interesting article in the Daily today about the whole process.
And I think, Ron, that makes a strong statement of our interest to ask for that.
I think, yeah, I think.
And I think the superintendent already is used to all of a sudden hearing things that they hadn't even considered
Right.
when they went into
Yes,
this
in fact,
process.
at the last mayor managers meeting, there were a lot of ideas thrown around that they said, gee, we didn't think about that. We need to consider that. And that was outside of the committee meeting that's even working. All right. Any other planning matters? Old fogey back there?
No, we're not going to do that anymore. Oh, on planning matters, might I offer congratulations to the Community Development Department for getting that, I don't think it's a grant, it's the UC graduate program that's going to work on our wayfinding. That's cool. That's cool, Jess. Do you have a value, a dollar value for that?
About $1 million.
Okay. Going once.
We're paying the students.
No, about the value of what they'll be doing for
Yeah.
us.
The amount, because the student labor is free.
It really depends on what their final report is.
So
That's hard to predict.
do we have a scope of work?
We are going to be working on the scope of work over the next 2 or 3 months. And we have our first meeting with them on Thursday.
We're
But
looking,
they will be working over for the next term, right? But what is it they're going to do for us?
So I can share the proposal that I wrote for them to see the project, which is kind of like a proposed scope of work that I came up with.
Okay,
They are going to fully flesh it out so that we know exactly what they're gonna do, site visits they'll do, what the final deliverables will look like. They'll have that figured out probably in March or April. And then starting in May, they will work 300 plus hours for us.
oh, so this is goes over several school
Yeah, they'll
terms.
have to work with us through December.
Oh, all right, thank you.
If there's any need for support on that, getting them up here in a hotel so that they can stay a night, getting them access to anything, I think that should be something we talk about as a council, if we want to help support that, fund that, depending on how the process is going. And just throwing that out there, not making any decisions, obviously, but just something to keep in mind.
we are helping them on that. We've already committed to that.
I got a nice area to pitch a tent.
No, that's part of us agreeing to be part of it, was we needed to clarify if we would offer any amount of money to pay for them to have site visits or a stipend for their work, and that's already been decided.
What is that decision?
I think it was $1,000 for site visits and materials and 3,000 paid among the students. There's 4 of them.
Excellent deal.
So if we were to go to a consultant to get a
Oh, no, excellent
way
deal
from,
making.
we're talking.
So we'll get a product, they'll get a tiny amount of money and they get, this is part of their graduate program, yes? Okay.
This is how we got just kind of
Yes.
similar program.
More than a council member.
Might be going back to grad school.
They could have a past project to sit on the council. You could get double pay. All right, report of the town manager staff.
I'll do this.
Okay. Well, you guys will be other matters. So
Do what?
we have an election issue coming up too.
John, could we actually do the resolution under regular business, just instead of under other matters?
Yeah.
Where are we?
Sure.
Yeah, we have,
This new resolution, okay.
Oh,
Oh, it's actually not on the agenda, I understand.
that's why
You need a copy?
oh,
did I officially need a motion to add this to the agenda?
I think you guys could add it as an item now.
Move to add ordinance
Resolution.
resolution 2026, a resolution of the town council of the town of Keystone, Colorado, conditionally authorizing the town clerk to cancel the April 7th, 2026 regular town election pursuant to ordinance 2025-0-19 to the agenda under resolutions.
Oh, a second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Town manager, want to present this?
I will pass this immediately on.
Well, it's moved and seconded, so
Oh, we need to vote.
We need to vote on adding to the agenda.
All those in favor of adding it to the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Mr. Town manager, please present it.
And I will immediately let our town clerk and our town attorney discuss this situation.
All right. Good evening, Mayor, Town Council. My name is Madeline Cielo. I'm the town clerk. So yesterday at 5 p.m. was the deadline for candidates to submit nomination petition packets for the April 7th, 2026 regular municipal election. At this time, we had 3 individuals who submitted nomination petition packets. All of these petition packets were sufficient. So we have 3 people qualifying to be candidates for the regular municipal election. We also have on this municipal election 4 positions that are available. So at this time, we have less candidates than the number of positions available. There is the opportunity, and this was what we addressed through the passage of ordinance 2025-0-19 last year, for us to cancel the election. Backing up, there is the opportunity for folks to submit an affidavit of intent for write-in candidacy, and that deadline is next Monday, February 2nd at 5 p.m. So if after that time we don't receive any additional nominations or any additional affidavits of intent, or we only receive 1 affidavit of intent for a write-in candidate, we would have the opportunity to potentially cancel the election. The reason we're bringing this to you tonight, rather than addressing this at the next meeting, is there's a timing issue in terms of the potential costs that would be associated with making the decision to cancel the election after the 3rd versus making that decision on the 3rd. The way that this resolution is written allows us to cancel the election conditionally if we only receive one additional write-in candidate or 0 additional write-in candidates. And the timing issue there is that on February 3rd, we have to get the ballot content to our provider to be able to get the ballot created. There's costs associated with creating the ballot proof, and then there are additional costs associated with the printing of that. And the printing needs to happen right away next week so that we can meet the UACAVA deadlines. So if we were to make the decision to cancel the election, that would be something that it would really be ideal to make that decision right now. The other opportunity would be if we want to wait to see what the write-in candidates are, we could potentially have a special meeting to discuss this on the 3rd. Otherwise, if we waited until the 10th, we would incur additional costs in the range of $1,000 to $2,000 that we would not be able to recoup from the printing and programming of the ballot. So that's the kind of timing issue there. Generally, you would save between $2,000 and $3,000 in printing and mailing costs if we were to cancel the election, and between 40 to 60 hours at a minimum of internal staff time, as well as the staff time for election judges as well. There are also 2 steps involved in the cancellation of an election, and this is just the consideration of that first step, which is authorizing the cancellation of the election. The second step would be declaring the candidates elected. At this time, we wouldn't be making that determination through the passage of this resolution. That's something that we would bring back potentially on February 10th, which would then have an effective date for April 7th of 2026, actually declaring the candidates elected. So the options for the town council are to conditionally authorize the cancellation of the election if we only receive 0 or 1 write-in candidates, and make that decision this evening. We could potentially have a special meeting on February 3rd and make that decision that day, or we could decide that we don't want to cancel the election at all.
Or could they cancel the election on February 10th?
Yes.
Incurring some cost in between
Right.
that time?
Correct.
Questions?
What was the cost for the 10th? If it's the 10th?
Before the 10th, we would incur an additional about $1,000 next week in terms of the programming time for the ballot. And then we have to print all of the ballots so that we can do the UACAVA printing with the way that our printer deadline is.
It's only $1,000 for, so
Correct.
do it basically tonight or spend $1,000 in it.
Correct.
Any other questions?
Well, or the third option to Councilmember Sullivan's is the 10th comes around and 10 people do affidavits to write in, and now we're not canceling the
I
election.
wouldn't cancel. The other, if you only got one and I'm walking through the one complexity in this election is one of the positions is really a 1-year term till the next election. Because it's filling a term of Councilmember Davis, who regular term.
2 years.
Or 2-year term, I'm sorry, 2-year term till the next election.
Yeah. It's 2 and 4.
Yeah. I keep hoping it'll be an election next year. Well, it's us old fogies.
Retirement's getting expensive.
Right, so the question is, if you only had one candidate, if you had more than one qualified write-in, election would automatically go forward. If we only had one, then how would we determine who gets that 2-year term?
So that was written out in the ordinance 2025-0-19. That would be done through a public drawing of lots.
Decided.
Mhm.
All right.
So can you, with this consideration, can you explain the affidavit of write-in? What that looks like? What I'm trying to get at is folks that are running for reelection have had to put an affidavit in, gain some signatures from folks, right? Go through a little bit of a process. Could you explain what that process is? Yeah.
They are not required to get the same petition signatures. And then they do have to write an affidavit of intent and certify that they meet the qualifications to run for town council.
So basically raise your hand and say, I want to be involved.
But their name is not on the ballot.
Correct.
There's a line
You have to
and
write
people
it.
have to write their name in.
And yet, if there's no one else.
If we cancel the election, it doesn't
One,
matter.
two people could write in.
Yeah.
And they're in, yes?
Well, if they did the affidavit,
If they did the affidavit.
Assuming that.
then we would have the election.
Yeah, but we have to have.
We won.
Yeah, if we have if we have any people who file that affidavit, then we have to have an election. And because,
No, I don't think so.
Two.
I think
no, if we have, but we can't put any more restrictions. That person, if they get one vote, they're elected to council.
Right. So is there the possibility of the alternative of moving forward with the three we have, skipping the election and having the council go through an appointment process for the fourth
Like we've done 3
council
times
member?
before.
Yes, but we can't prohibit write-in candidates during this period. Write-in candidates are still able to make their affidavit of intent until February 2nd.
Okay, so we can't, so if February 2nd comes around, oh,
That's the 64th day.
so, well, what a deal.
Could we conditionally cancel it if we still have 3 candidates, it's canceled, and 4
No,
candidates?
If we have 4 candidates, we can, you know, I guess I don't have.
Four can-
I don't have any problem with the conditions on the resolution as presented, because we really don't have much choice anyway, Nate.
You can go forward with the election.
I know we could go forward, but the key is,
But then we
Why do it?
pay for.
the only reason to do
Well,
it,
because then the writing candidate most likely would be the person who got the 2-year term, and 3 people who through the petitions most likely would get the 4-year.
your terms.
Because there is a possible reason for an election.
And that's one of my concerns. One of my concerns with the qualified candidate is when you go to lots, the folks who have gotten the signatures and done the work, you could have someone getting 5 votes or 1 vote, going on the council and suddenly having a 4-year term.
The biggest issue I have, and I'm not disagreeing with that, right, but, and I mean this no disrespect to town staff, right, like, when we talked about ordinance 2025-08 and 19, it was always something that like, I just don't agree with canceling election in general, right, I think that elections are a foundation of our republic, right? And it was always something to like have in our back pocket, right? And we're kind of having this conversation as if it's a necessity at this point, and I disagree with that, right? In the sense that, just that in the sense, but also like, this wasn't in the packet that was sent out on Friday. This was passed out to me, no, again, no offense, 5 minutes ago. Like, this is just really fast, and I think that if we were ever to, and I understand the 65 days and the considerations there, but I struggle if we were ever to consider actually canceling the election, we need to at least have it on a packet that's published, give people the opportunity to be aware of it and not a last minute thing. And to be quite blunt, $1,000 is not that much of a loss when we're talking about people's ability to vote in an election. And I think that's a foundational thing in our republic.
Well, just to clarify, the $1,000 doesn't get us all the way through the election.
100%, but it at least gets us to February 10th, where we can make a decision and have it published on what's the agenda and actually have it disseminated out. And we could even push an email blast out ahead of time.
So I would like to give the town clerk a lot of credit for bringing this forward. I think she has a lot of forethought in bringing this forward to you today at this meeting tonight. There would be no way to know Friday what packets and what nomination petitions were going to be submitted yesterday by 5 o'clock. So no way to know. So it couldn't have been in the packet. She's doing this to try to save money for the town. Other clerks that I would work with would call on Monday and say, oh crap, we don't have any people doing write-in candidates. We could have canceled the election and it would have been too late. So the way that this came about, it does seem rushed, but it is, I think it's very, it's thinking ahead, which many people don't do. So.
And I'm not saying it wasn't thought out. I'm saying the perception is that it was rushed and last minute.
If I may weigh in, if we have 3 candidates who are guaranteed to get the 3 4-year terms, I think it's a bigger political issue for you guys trying to explain to people why we wasted money and excessive amount of staff time to run a completely inconsequential election. If we have 3 candidates who are guaranteed the 4-year terms. Now, I think if a write-in candidate is added, that brings a whole, if we have a 4th candidate, that brings a whole different dynamic to the situation. But with 3 candidates, I can tell you right now how the election is going to turn out without devoting any staff time or any of our citizens' money to run an election for that. And I value elections greatly, and I'm the type of parent who would take my kids to the polling station with me so they could see and learn the value of voting. But if it's a foregone conclusion, regardless.
It sounds like, well, one of the decisions are, if we have 4 candidates, if we have more than 4, obviously.
Yeah.
4 candidates, do we do lot or do we go to the election? And I was thinking lots earlier, but I'm thinking more, we go with the election because there is a difference between 2 and 4 years. Yes, and the way we choose that is by how many votes people get. Now, the question about, do we wait? Do we spend $1,000 and wait? And I guess I don't have a sense for that right now, for a week, right?
I'm not sure what we gain by waiting, because if there's only 3 candidates, we know who the answer is. If there's a 4th candidate and then to me, that's the question with the resolution. If there's a 4th candidate, would we want to cancel the election or want to allow the election to go forward? And personally, I would be in favor of allowing that election to go forward if we have a 4th candidate, because we're making, voters would then be making a selection of who gets the 4-year terms.
And when will we know whether we have 4?
Monday at 5. So, but that could be put into this resolution because to me, those are no greater decisions. I mean, 4, if we want to force the election, make the rule that's the answer. If there's only 3, then the answer is no election.
That's what I agree with.
I could get behind that compromise. I still stand by the elections are foundation, right? I'm not going to go on my soapbox again, but I could get behind that compromise.
I'm going to stand with my colleague here. You may have forgotten that I voted not to cancel unless there were fewer or something, I remember. I thought even if we had 4, we should go ahead. So my concern about this whole issue is if someone were to write in or create an affidavit by Monday, vote for him or herself, We're done. The electorate has had no say. Neither has the council on their behalf. And that it does not match anything with
We
that.
have no.
I understand. So I think going forward with the election, at least makes that clear what's going on, and it does make that one distinction.
I disagree. An election for the sake of an election doesn't make sense to me. I think the community has spoken about who has stepped forward to submit a packet. I think it's been well publicized. It's been well advertised. I think there's been plenty of opportunity for the community to decide if they want to be on the council. So I don't feel we need to spoon feed everyone everything.
Well, so the question, what are you saying? Then you say,
What are you saying?
don't do an election.
No, I'm saying that I'm up for reelection. So if I'm a 2-year or 4-year, doesn't matter to me. So to spend, the total cost is what, 7,000-8,000 for an election?
I got the numbers when I wrote that down. Could we ask the
So
clerk?
there are certain expenses that we have already incurred at this point because there are certain pieces of the ballot that have already been printed, including like the secrecy sleeves and certain envelopes. Some of those envelopes could be reused in future elections, but the very outermost part of that envelope would change in a future election. Secrecy sleeves could certainly be reused. And then there's expenses that we committed to in the IGA with Clear Ballot. So that $3,000 has already been committed to Clear Ballot. The cost that we would save in this interim 1-week period of time would be a little over $1,000 if we halted the printing of the ballots to be able to get the UACAVA ballots sent out on time. And then the total cost that we would save in printing if we stopped the process, including that time next week, would be about $3,400.
But what you're also neglecting to count into those costs are staff time
Correct.
and attorney time, who has to review everything as she's going forward, as we're going forward. So,
And this election money we have already budgeted, yes.
yeah.
Just because we budgeted doesn't mean we need to spend it.
However,
But doing an election, if we had 4, the only thing that would do is determine who was 2 years and 4 years.
If it's a big heartache, I'll take the 2-year.
Volunteer.
that's what.
But it does,
That's not
it does give the
I'm not gonna
community
lose any sleep over it.
the voice to
It's the voice that.
to make that
Yeah.
voice.
Yeah.
Well, if you wanted to be involved, why don't we have more than 3 applicants
Yeah.
in the town council?
We're talking about the voice of the electorate.
We're talking about the voice.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, and that was my only thought. Yeah, Aaron.
I tend to echo Councilmember Martin's views here. While I'm certainly sympathetic to the idea that like the electorate who couldn't run don't specifically have a voice because we didn't have enough people for competition. I think at the same time, in the balance of the public interest, it really still feels like an election for the sake of an election at the cost of taxpayer dollars. And that we're better off not going that route.
Right, then let's do this. We've had a motion to consider this. It sounds like we want to make an amendment. Oh, I take it, we don't have a motion.
Just the motion to put it on the agenda.
All right, so we just need a motion. We need a motion, and the question is, what it sounds like is a motion, well, we have 3 choices. One, a motion to approve is written. We have a motion, potential motion to modify this to force an election if we only have 4 candidates. So can I have a motion for one of those? Or we have, in any case, a defeat of those motions would result, would do nothing tonight, we'd have to come back later. So can I have a motion to do something?
Well, that's the first step.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I move that we do something.
No. Motion out. Well,
Well, to be serious, can I say, I would move to approve this with one amendment, which is if there's a 4, we continue with the election. That's my motion.
so do we have a second to that motion?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Now we can have debate.
Says.
No. Says they can.
I don't agree, but I have nothing further to say, but I mean, I think I've stated my opinion now.
And it's canceled.
Can I ask the question? So how is this advertised? I mean, so, yeah, I'm just curious. Do people really know that there's probably only 3 people on the ballot? Do they know that we're still looking? I know that's not the normal procedure of how you do things, but is this a well socialized
Now.
kind of thing?
I think everyone else is probably thinking somebody else is gonna put their hat in the ring.
Yeah.
And nobody else has put their hat in the ring. Is my honest and raw.
Maybe, yeah. Yeah, I think folks in the community probably were pretty happy with the council as it existed, probably. Otherwise, they would have run against them.
It is, you
And
get
so-
more action when people are annoyed.
I guess what the question is, would it be, now ask the attorney, would it be appropriate for the town to go out as part of the email or email blast and say, hey, we have 3 candidates. There's still an opportunity if you want to run as a write-in candidate, you can, but your name would not appear on the ballot.
Yeah, I think that that's fair. You can say, here's the deadline. This is what you have to do. Yeah.
Because that, I mean, yeah, I think that satisfies a lot of our worry about votes and that kind of thing. I would hate for things just to go through just
Yeah.
people didn't know, unaware.
Well, and I'm sitting, to be honest with you, I'm sitting here, Councilmember Allen, and I'm remembering your selection process and Councilmember Martin's selection process, my selection process, right? Like, there was other people here. None of us walked in and we were just selected. So where are all those people now? That's my question, right? And it wasn't the same person every time. It was different people every time. And there was probably 5 to 7 of them at least, right? So
At least.
yeah. And I guess everyone seemed passionate when they talked, but.
And I want to say that I thought the town did an excellent job in communicating the election. It was everywhere I looked.
I bet it
Maybe
was
I
the
noticed.
COLA adjustment. That's the reason, you know.
Put that in the advertisement.
In that case, a motion to reconsider.
I would stand by my. I would stand by the motion that's on the table.
Which I would like to hear again, because it looks like this says if there are the same number of total candidates, write-in or otherwise, then we cancel it. And we only go forward if there is more than one write-in. Yes.
That's
But I thought you amended that.
I did.
What is the amendment? I'm not.
Well, I don't know the
Tracking.
exact words, but what I'm saying is if it's 4, so if it's 4 with the write-in.
Or total.
Or more.
Continue.
Yeah.
Or
No,
more.
no,
Well, yeah,
there's 4 more, right?
or more. We continue with the election.
If there's 3,
So
the
that's a
election
change
is
to
canceled.
this.
Yes.
Complete change. Okay.
Well, let's just add.
It still authorizes the clerk to cancel the election if no write-ins are determined in the
Right.
next 7 days.
That's the motion on the floor.
Councilman Permit, did you have any
No further.
comment? Any other debate? Last chance? Then I'll call the question. I thought I saw a hand go.
No, sorry, I was stretching my,
And if you would repeat the question that we're, Voting on.
The question is approving resolution 2025-0-19 with the change to section 1.
Mr. Mayor, I might, 2025-19 is
No.
not the one we're approving.
Yeah,
2025, I'm sorry, 2026-0-5.
5.
All right, thank you. Saw the ordinance number right.
I did the same thing too.
05, in changing of section 1 to indicate that if there are 4 candidates, then the election would go forward. 4 or more of the election would go forward. If there were only 3 candidates, there would be the election would be canceled. That's basically the intent. And can the staff draft whatever the appropriate language is for that intent? And then we can still vote on the intent and then you just incorporate it. That answer your question?
Thank you.
All right. Then in that case, I've called the question. In this case, I'm going to ask the clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Hagenow.
Approve.
Councilmember Kerr.
Approve.
Councilmember Martin.
No.
Councilmember Parmet.
No.
Councilmember Sullivan.
Approve.
Councilmember Allen.
Approve.
Mayor Riley.
Approve.
There are 5 votes to approve and 2 votes against.
I would like to see writing candidates.
I don't think anyone wants to not. I think everyone would prefer to see an election, a contested election. We need to do what Frisco did and get the tennis people and the paddleball people fighting, and we might get 12 or 13 returned.
We could also,
All right. Now, report of the manager and staff.
Okay, I will try to fly through this because we have 8 minutes.
As I told you, they always wait.
Planning,
We fill
the
it.
comp plan draft is being polished. All your comments are being put into it. It is being shortened somehow. And Friday, we hope to have it out for 3 weeks worth of public comments before we come back through the processes again. Vail Resorts has turned in their housing generation numbers. Staff is still going over those a little bit, but it will require a minor amendment to the PUD that the PUD is prepared to deal with. This is not a major amendment.
It's going to require approval. We just approve it for our portion and the county has to approve it for theirs. So how does that work?
And so, yeah.
That's a challenge for the attorney to figure out how we do a minor.
And Vail Resorts attorneys are not, they're not getting back in touch with us.
I understand, but that's something you're going to have to figure out how to get that approved. That's since the housing generation numbers affect both the county and the town.
Let's see, Public Works, we're getting bids to fix the bridge over in Settlers Creek. And, we're looking at some median issues. The medians are going to be a very large project for us in the future. However, I just noticed, and I can't believe I've never noticed this before, but there is a turning lane going westbound on Highway 6 at Wintergreen that turns into the fifth hole of the golf course. It doesn't turn anywhere. I would like to try to get that median basically reversed so that we have acceleration lane coming eastbound out of Wintergreen.
Yeah.
So people don't have to turn directly into traffic. We're looking at least that step on our medians.
So you're proposing the turning lane when you're turning out of Wintergreen going
Towards Keystone.
west. Oh.
There is, as you're heading west, before you get to Wintergreen, there's already a turning lane coming eastbound.
Oh, there is.
to go in,
That's my question. Thank you.
But there's one going westbound that doesn't serve any purpose whatsoever. So there's space in the road to create a proper acceleration lane.
With relatively low impact to.
Yeah, relatively low cost and impact, and it's just a matter of talking to CDOT and getting permission to do that, but,
Putting them on my priority list.
yeah, to me, this is a,
Bus stops.
well, because of this is a big reason why there's not bus service at West Hills this year. Because,
Can we get that
You
in writing,
mean, you're
please?
talking about some, Keystone Resort shuttle service.
yes, because they are obligated to serve Wintergreen, where the bus stop is located. Means they turn in on the Wintergreen Road, and now they exit through Sunrise. Because,
Because they can't have, okay.
yeah. So we're looking at that. The clerk and the mayor were at KOA's STR advisory board meeting last week, and it went very well. I've heard discussion on how to just keep lines of communication open with KOA's STR advisory board. And we have posted the clerk position in anticipation of our clerk moving up to the deputy assistant manager position that will be hung on our wall this week. Finance department, Wednesday, Heike is going through training on the new lodging tax portal. So starting with January lodging tax, people will be able to do it online.
Our portal.
Our portal.
Okay.
They'll do it directly on our portal. It's associated with our Cassell accounting network, our software that we just implemented. So that's big and that's a nice thing. Okay, political activity. The Golden Dome, HB 26-1001 was introduced. It is the new version of the Yes in God's Backyard bill.
Oh, home.
But now it's.
It's the home bill.
Yeah,
Okay.
but it's still the Yes in God's Backyard bill, which
Yes.
Different flavors.
would enable churches, schools,
No,
and,
churches are not part of it anymore.
Wouldn't nonprofits also include churches?
yeah, it includes churches, schools, and almost all nonprofits. Yes,
With Carol.
that's the report I got today from CML. So,
That must be a change since the last time I was in a meeting with CML, but I will look into it.
yeah, it's still a horrible, horrible thing
Yes.
for towns. It has a hearing on February 3rd, 1:30 in front of the Transportation, Housing, and Local Government Committee. I'd recommend everyone reach out to our elected officials and express our deep concern with this assumption of what has, from day one in America, been traditionally a local decision on what type of housing is allowed, what type of building is allowed in your neighborhood. Let's see, at last meeting, I said, through CDOT, we're going to buy our own town limit signs and
They heard you.
noise ordinance sign. A couple days after that, they put up a noise ordinance sign, which is, it's been hit by a truck.
Oh, not funny.
I don't know if any of you have seen the town limit sign.
I did, and I thought, oh, news to me.
Why did they choose, they put it
They didn't
right
coordinate
next to
with us?
where Vail Resorts has their orange variable message board
Which
about
is
parking.
far within our.
Way within our town limits. So now we're dealing,
Now we have
trying to
to
get
do it.
CDOT to move their town limit sign back to a more reasonable location.
Regardless.
They bought the sign, can we just move it?
Just-
Well, and actually, that's part of our question. Can we just move it? But no, we can't just go out and move it without their permission.
Despite my shock at recognizing the now smaller town,
Yeah.
I was excited that we got it.
Can we use one of those flock cameras to find out which truck hit
Will it be the trailer owner, not the truck owner?
Already know.
And we heard today how Prop 123 looks like it's going to be undergoing some pretty major changes in the way they determine what's eligible housing and what the requirements are. One good news thing about that is it looks like because the rules they're drafting don't contemplate towns less than 3 years old, it looks like our commitment is going to drop from 6 to 2.
Wow.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So if we can
I
get
think.
Summit Cove in, that's one.
Yeah, you were a no on that.
Yeah, and you all know about the retreat, but for anyone else, I felt the council had a very successful retreat. We'll be discussing it at a future workshop when we get the report put together, but some good definitions. I think it was Councilman Hagenow who defined Keystone as a place where you can connect with the environment and a place where you can connect with others, which I think is a wonderful.
You take credit, John.
It was an effort, I believe, amongst all of us to get.
Yeah, but
Someone else kissing up to you.
it's, I think it's a great way to look at our town and base our priorities going forward as a town. We'll have more discussion about that. Cast meeting this Wednesday through Friday. I will be meeting with a candidate for Lindsay's job down there.
Wait, is anybody going to the cast meeting?
He is and
Okay.
He is me.
yeah, there's a finger.
We're going to be hosting the next mayor's, managers and commissioners meeting here. It was supposed to be a Frisco meeting. So we're going to host it next week. I had a good discussion with Mark Matthews regarding K and C roads. And actually, first of all, we got a wonderful, the mayor and I, email from Maureen Barrett thanking us very much for the way we're approaching the plowing in the Settlers Creek area.
No plowing
On all,
not Settlers Creek, but handling
yeah,
on
Independence Road. So that's something. And KNC is very interested in, and this will be a process, Ida Bell Road and River Run Road. They want to repair them and bring them up to standards. They're hiring the same engineer we have working on our Razor Drive bus stop and Tennis Club Drive to tell them what exactly it will take them to make those roads good roads again. And they are going to invest the money to bring those roads up to good standards, our standards, and roads that will last. And then they will be coming to us to ask us to take ownership of those.
at a
roads.
future council meeting coming up, town manager will be bringing us a discussion of all of the roads and the issues, some of the issues associated with roads, probably be split between some legal advice in the executive session plus open council meeting, and that will lay out also the process for how all that would work for the various types of roads.
Ida Bell Road currently is a transit hub,
Yes.
dare I say, and I'm gonna call it that.
Yeah.
Is there consideration, right, and that's obviously transit for the resort, is there consideration or should we be talking about, right, like what the future of that area looks like? Do we consider that a transit hub for the years to come? Are we anticipating a transit hub somewhere else in town? Why I'm mentioning this is if there's going to be investment in that area, should we be having broader, more strategic conversations about what that space looks like and getting it to where we want it to be as a transit hub or not a transit hub for the future? Because if we want it to be a transit hub, like, and I'm just using Breckenridge as an example with the Connect transit area, right? That has a bus turnaround, a little area for folks to wait. Like it has more infrastructure and development than I would presume would be included in a Kane say bringing up to snuff. And I'd hate for the road to be brought up to snuff and then 5 years later, we're doing a massive reinvestment and reimagination of the area and spending money twice.
Well,
that
we're not
makes-
spending money,
I understand that, but I'd rather,
and that's the limit of what they would spend. And any extension of, well, first of all, like you said, it is already a transit hub.
Mhm.
And it's designed to service the buses and the transportation that comes in. If we wanted to do an extensive remodel of it, I don't think we should put off this willingness to repair the road and acceptance of it, because that would be a major project, very much involving Vail Resorts because it's their property, KNC's property on either side. And I think at this point, they're not interested in putting in infrastructure, and I think additional transportation infrastructure. And we are nowhere near any idea of what transportation is going to look like 5 years from now.
Their question.
At the start of your presentation, you indicated that we were getting estimates for the repair of the East Keystone Bridge, I believe.
Yes.
I just want to remind you that we don't own the bridge, so as a result, any insurance claim has to be.
I think we do.
I didn't think we owned anything on East Keystone Road. We own our West Keystone Road.
I think we do.
That if we do, fine. If we don't, that insurance claim has to be filed by KNC.
KNC, yeah.
I did have a question on
And
that.
we're actually working with KNC right now on.
Is this the same bridge that the chief mentioned was involved in a
Yes.
motor vehicle accident? So why is and just so I understand, the town is getting bids to fix it, but we're not expending capital for it if we know who it is, right?
They are insured, and we will be going after,
So we might
Driver.
upfront cover the
Yeah.
cost with the intent to go.
yes,
Whatever the cost
whoever
is.
ultimately is responsible for the bridge will be going after the
Okay.
driver who did it.
And is there cases where this has happened where the insurance threshold is not enough to cover the bridge and then we have to cover the cost of that as a town?
I don't anticipate that
Okay.
it'll be that much, the repair. There's no structural damage, it's,
But also, even if insurance doesn't cover it, unless the person is in a position that a lien would not work against them because they don't have any assets, then we could file a separate lawsuit, I believe, against the owner of the vehicle. And
I don't anticipate either us or KNC will, when it's all said and done, be responsible for any of the cost of this. Except for the time.
all right, anything else?
That's it for me.
Quick question.
Yep, sure.
Can you update us on the SDR software and the new complaint element of that? That I think is being built. Am I wrong?
Do we have anything new from,
Currently, we're still testing that process. I think
Fine.
it's going to be at least 1 to 2 months until it's ready. There's also staffing changes that are happening right now internally, and then just the capacity that we've got with the election and everything else going on right now, it limits the amount of time that we're able to dedicate.
But they're moving forward on this. Okay.
and I would like to point out that even with the system, with the problems we have with the system as it exists, we are miles ahead of where we were when we were getting 17 complaints over the course of a year through the old county.
Miles ahead in that we have more? or
In that, yes,
better
in that if
information?
people have problems with their we had 93 complaints
When, in what time frame?
last year.
Okay.
Have we worked with the police department to ensure that any reports from the police department are being integrated into the STR feedback?
Thanks for that.
Not yet. This will be part of the process we're going on right now.
Thank you.
But the point is, there were 17 complaints in the year before. So obviously, there were a lot of people upset about SDRs who were not finding it possible to make their voices heard.
Or they didn't trust it, yeah.
But it wasn't just that the system couldn't even handle the addresses that where the problems were, because it was a legal address versus the condo association address.
So our people we will always be striving to make it better. But they can't complain in comparison to what we have.
Thanks for all this work that's gone into it. It's important.
And since I see the chief in the back of the room, you're right in my eyesight, so I can sightline see. If you were to receive a call on a noise complaint, the department, given resources available, nothing higher priority, you would respond to that.
And the question is integrating that in, and that's much more difficult than you think. And the proper thing for people to do if they have a noise complaint is call the police department and call the hotline, because the police aren't necessarily going to go to every call they ask and say, are you short-term renters? They're going to say, you guys have to shut this down. This is loud and you are bothering the neighbors and we have a noise ordinance. But we'll work on it.
It was a major point of feedback, and we can sit here and say that we've made improvement, and I'm not saying we haven't, but our citizens are telling us that it's not there.
Yeah.
So we need to keep striving to get it there, and I understand it's not gonna be an overnight thing, but it just needs to be focused.
I think everyone recognizes this is a work in progress. Yes, there have been improvements. Does there need to be a lot more? Yes. We're not saying, no one's saying that we've got the perfect system right now.
100%.
Anything else? Any other questions? I'm personally shooting for 10. Anything else?
That's another matters.
No, we're not there yet. Report of mayor council. This is good for 30 minutes. Anyone, you guys, any of the council members have a report? You want to talk about the coffee with council next week?
Yeah, well, we do need that. Next, okay, real quick, we do have a coffee with council next Monday. It's going to be steep again. It's already advertised, 9:00. And I guess as always, we like volunteers. Oh, let me get this.
9:00.
9:00. Okay, well,
Okay.
It's gonna be
Okay.
hard for me. Yeah.
Steve, you want to raise it?
Oh, I just threw out the suggestion that what if future coffee with council was held here and the town bought some donuts and coffee, but it allows us the opportunity to start bringing the public and the community into this building. And it would also allow, if we wanted anyone from town staff to come down for a 10, 15-minute introduction. Hi, my name is so-and-so. Here's what I do for the town. Gives the police department an opportunity if they wanted to send an officer here for a 10 or 15-minute. But I thought, since we kept having it over there, maybe we start utilizing our resource, our building here.
I like that idea. The only consideration, and we haven't done a great job of this, is I think the original intent was to go around two different businesses, and we ran into roadblocks with that. And so we always defaulted on the easy one, and the town clerk can definitely speak more to that since she put in all the legwork into getting the location, but that'd be the only call out, not advocating either way, just the call out, I guess.
We could still buy the coffee or donuts from local businesses.
Perfect.
To that end, did you ever reach out to Haywood for a morning? Are they so busy they don't want that, or?
I've not reached out to them recently.
Okay.
You see,
Well, we've got a couple options that went forward then. You can.
Ask how successful, I mean, I know we've had some onesies, twosies kind of thing. But,
yeah.
I mean, do we need to rethink the whole thing? And I know.
That's what we've been doing, is rethinking. We've introduced evening sessions. We've talked about advertising, specific topics that didn't go over well, but yeah, we continue to do so. We think it's important to keep that line open
Understood.
And how can we
Thinking might-
make it more effective? We're waiting for your brilliance.
Yeah, no, I'm working through it as well too, but I'm
Yeah.
just curious. I know we keep talking about it. We've had some different ideas yeah, so I'm not sure. If it's the timing that's not doing it. It's the community interest. It's the locate.
If I may weigh in on a few things. Coffee with Council is more than just a listening session. It's this council clearly expressing that they want to be heard, which is the most important message. And if no one shows up, that's not the end of the world. What's the end of the world is if we stop doing it, because the message it sends is very good. And I'm not against doing a thing here. I've never seen another community that had a coffee with council thing in their town hall. I think one of the, and we should try and see if it's successful.
Give it a shot.
That'd be a town hall.
But it's, I think the message is we're so interested in what you want to hear. I mean, we don't get people here for our town council meetings.
So you talk about other towns, coffee break, what?
They all go to a coffee shop or something like that. And it's based, never.
Working for them, for the other?
Well, if you get one good idea, it works. Or one piece of good feedback, it's working. Or if people realize that they have the opportunity to give the feedback that's working, whether they have feedback to give or not. So,
I report card on that. It's gone from as low as 3 up to 10. And those 10, surprisingly, there's some people that come often, but a lot of different people come different times. And they usually come with a subject. And so I kind of like that because there are not a lot of other vehicles for us to get those individual subjects to us. So if they're really.
But that's exactly what I'm hitting on. If we're not hitting it with some of that, and I know we're getting some, and I'm not poo-pooing the idea, I just want us to try to figure out a way to be more effective in doing that, right?
And we will remain open, and if you got new ideas, please, we can check it out on February 2nd. There's an important distinction with the coffee. When people come here to make a public comment, they have 3 minutes, they make a statement, we don't respond back. When we sit in over coffee, we can say, tell me more. I need to better understand that, and have a dialogue.
Well, the
It
thought
makes it
was-
important.
We could do that here though too, but I like the idea. We hadn't thought about this, inviting different people from staff at individual times. Like next Monday, if there's somebody from staff, one of the positions would like to join, Carol and Ron.
I see, the chief just raised his hand.
Yes.
I think part of,
We scheduled a coffee with Cup. For 1, quarter 2 will be in Dillon. Then we're gonna look at options for 3 and 4 outside.
when was it scheduled?
We'll get that info out to you.
How does February 2nd around 9 a.m.?
yes.
I believe it's already been scheduled, it's already worked out, but we will obviously share that.
And if,
I can show up, although I tend to try to.
Points that people don't necessarily want to have out in the public.
and dare I say, and I recognize the importance of the first Monday, but if you were to make it the first Wednesday, I would be able to attend all the coffees. Right now,
And Wednesday might even be better because for me, Monday mornings are just.
You sleep into 11.
A nightmare. And for most people they're trying to get their week in order and may not have that time to show up to work an hour or two later. It's just something to
So
consider.
can we look at March doing Wednesday, if we've already publicized February?
This one's already publicized.
Yeah.
And then, Ron, you're the freshest eyes here. Like, and obviously not putting you on the spot here, but like, what can we change?
Yeah, so been to some as a constituent, right? And that's how I got into this. So it does work in some ways, but how do we make it more effective? And, I'm hearing things like different times, different venues, those kind of things. And not exactly sure. I mean, most of the information feedback I get from my constituents is walking through the neighborhood and someone steps out and goes, oh, hey, Ron, this, right? And gives me that. But right, it's once again, just like we talked about in the election, there's obviously not a bunch of people don't have time and the bandwidth to do things. And so trying to figure out how to do it so they can is going to be important.
When things are going well, people don't show up. The people who are happy are quiet.
Let's do this. The next one, it's the two of you. I would suggest the following one. Maybe we do switch it to a Wednesday and it's the mayor.
Well, it's copy of council. But I would be.
Same copy of council.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we could try it here, could we not, in the first week of March?
Let's introduce one new thing at a time.
Okay.
As I said.
We tentatively scheduled ours for Saturday morning, March 7th.
So,
But you don't
Back to
want to
ours.
combine with us.
no, doesn't sound like it.
But I mean, it's more having access in the community, at least from what I've heard since I've been here in the beginning and what we're trying to accomplish.
I think that's a lot of promise.
I think you guys have done an awesome job of that, like coffee with council and the other attempt at ears with council, that was fantastic of just, we're still trying to integrate and find different ways to communicate with the citizens. We have some other ideas going in the summer of what bike patrol looks like, especially in different neighborhoods and things along those lines. So
I would really like to
if
take
if there's an
advantage.
opportunity to integrate and you guys like to do that, it is tentatively scheduled for that Saturday.
What time?
Tentatively scheduled it from 8 to 10, and it is also at Steve.
I will say the highest attended coffee or cocktails with council I went to, Aaron, please correct me if I'm wrong, was at Rotello's.
Yeah.
And we had, oh my gosh, we took up 3 picnic tables. And that was awesome.
That was the ski patrol.
No,
Wasn't that it?
yeah, wait, was that same
It was
night?
in summer sometime.
It was after,
Yeah.
or in our TAP meeting or,
No, that was over at Nowhere
It's a pizza
Pizza.
place.
oh, okay.
Well,
That was very
Yeah.
good.
Regardless, I think that in the summertime, we saw a demand for that kind of stuff. And so as we look at the once a quarter cocktail with council, we might try to repeat that.
It's actually easier to do the evening ones in the summer.
Yeah, it
than
might be
nicer.
better, more attractive in the summer to do cocktail with council than.
So back to, well, we got Monday figured out.
Yeah.
You don't have anything else figured out. This week, on how we decide.
One step at a time.
Do we not talk about Wednesday for March?
Okay, we stick to March location, I guess. We decide that for sure.
And you can make that location decision the other night or next meeting,
Okay. Do that.
giving you an opportunity to defer. The decision deferred is a decision made. All right, any other reports from council members?
A quick one, not going to go over it because of time, but Carol did a fantastic job of sending out a CML, or sorry, Councilwoman Kerr did a fantastic job of sending out some notes from the CML policy committee that we attended.
And I think we decided that was important so that we're representing you all and we want to make sure you know. The home stuff is going to be exciting. So please keep the cards and letters coming to us when we represent you.
And
Thank you.
it's, when we say represent, it's more of getting information about upcoming stuff, less and not making policy decisions for us. To be clear.
Yeah, I think, go back to, I spelled out what the role of the policy committee is. Thank you for that.
All right. Anything else? All right, a couple of quick items I have. Last meeting, we talked about another National Brotherhood of Snow Sports. We first went to Shannon. She's due back to us on our potential participation of, I should get that next week, and then, yeah, not next, following Monday, before the next council meeting, I'll get that. If she doesn't respond, then I will go directly to the president of NBS NASC. The other piece is I sat in on a telecon or a Zoom meeting today with Congressman Neguse. Two of the items that were raised, this is with all the mayors in his congressional district, of two of the items that were raised was one, the post office. We're not, obviously not the only ones. And his staff is now engaging, and I've talked to Dan about getting the hot buttons into his staff as well. So now Dan will be working with both Congressman Neguse as well as Senator Hickenlooper's staff. So no guarantees. Neguse, Hickenlooper, and Bennett had a meeting with the new Postmaster General. They discussed the issues, and so a dialogue is going to be continuing. No guarantees of anything. And the other piece is, well, no, Department of Homeland Security funding. As you've been watching the news, the Democratic caucus is going to, and the Senate is going to vote against the appropriations bill if it's in its current form because of the DHS and ICE funding in it. If that happens, there could very well be a government shutdown of defense. DHS would be limited to current expenditures. It would affect TSA, everything in DHS, and potentially other departments as well that haven't already had their bills passed. But the biggie is going to be, would probably be DHS.
Was there any conversation the last time that this kind of stuff happened? We as a county and towns offered some support, obviously not supplementing all the items that the federal government covers, but was there any lean consideration, not or elsewise?
There was no discussion of that. This was too broad a group because that would be very localized. But SNAP, for instance, is already funded in a previous appropriations bill.
So is ICE.
I was just gonna say exactly that.
ICE is also.
And they always have the opportunity to move funds around.
Yes, it's another bill. So
It's fun,
when if they vote this down, ICE still gets their funding.
but TSA will.
Well, but
TSA will be.
Yep.
But do they get the increase?
They
Or they always would be at the cap of the level that they were currently at.
they got in the, so I'm told, the big beautiful bill thing.
Oh, yeah, that's,
Is the money that they have for this.
that's a different one. They're asking for more than that. There was an interior funding bill that has been recently passed.
Yeah.
That they're not in, that continues to SNAP and
Right.
those issues.
In the Forest Service, the Interior bill had still maintained a significant decrease in funding, or most of that decrease in funding that was in the big beautiful bill. So anyway, that's all from there. And we'll, I guess, see what happens this week. All right. That is all I had. Other matters?
Oh, my other matter was going to be coffee with council, so done, check.
All right. In that case, we have made it to 10.
Want us to drag it out?
No.
If I can throw out that Dos Locos is closing, they announced.
It is?
Those 22 years, the restaurant. What? Yeah, so Fiscal 93 this morning said that they were closing because they were having a dispute with their landlord and, so one of our long-term,
Did they mention any plans to move somewhere else?
didn't say anything, just that they're closing after 22 years.
And when are they closing?
They're gonna wait till after the season's finished and then probably in the shoulder season.
Banditos too. Before Dos Locos was there, it was the exact same restaurant, called Banditos.
Well, it was Mikasa, but
Oh, Mikasa, yeah,
um,
Banditos was,
there were two locations for Mikasa, one's still there, but he sold it to us. That is our largest restaurant. In fact, I believe it's the largest restaurant in the county
By seats.
by seats.
Yeah.
That's a hit.
Was there any lien, like, where I'm getting at is like, we always talk about economic revitalization, right? Like, is there anything we can do to help the restaurant community, and not just a single restaurant, but help the restaurant community?
Might be more about what that landlord has in mind for his future.
Interesting situation you're going to get our government into.
Okay, I'll jump in.
But this is this particular situation, there's really nothing we can do. The landlord is going to be taking a pretty serious economic hit too. This restaurant is a very popular restaurant. We can encourage them to try to solve their differences, but it sounds way too late for that.
This is the same landlord that caused our council member to resign.
Oh, the same. Sarah.
Oh.
I am wondering if there is an intent to either redevelop that property or convert it to additional servicing of short-term rentals, because that appears to be the primary use of the property these days, apart from the first anchor, which was the restaurant. There's still a Subway and a ski rental shop that has been there a very long time, and a convenience store and a liquor store.
They need any sort of town approval to convert that space.
It's commercial, isn't it?
I don't know. And if they didn't want a restaurant in there, no one else is going to take that space.
Yeah, I understand that the landlord has been attempting to sell his business entities in Keystone. And what has been hit with is the numbers don't pencil for what the income numbers don't pencil for what he wants. So he's trying to raise rents to get numbers up, and that's pure rumor, but it tracks with what we saw with council, with Sarah. So anyway.
It's now a macaroon shop, and maybe we'll get another macaroon shop.
Massive macaroon shop.
World's biggest macaroon shop.
With that, any other business? That, no other business, the meeting is adjourned.